John, what are you playing?
Nothing! This doesn't happen! Systemic problems aren't real! If you can purchase a Big Mac, you're not oppressed! Go to audible.com/JohnTron show for a
I never cared too much for self-worth as a character flaw. I've always found it to be a consistently circular conflict that either never gets resolved, is never properly established, or simply wears out its welcome long before it justifies its own existence. And when I sat down to write this episode, I thoroughly expected to use Steven Universe as a vector to tear this trope a new asshole. Unfortunately, my world-class intellect and strikingly sexy thinking pose reflected in the secondary monitor kicked in, and I was forced to recognize that Steven Universe is the gold standard in both how to do it right and how to fuck it up. So let's talk about Amethyst. Amethyst isn't as much as far as characters goes. She's got precisely two modes, desperately trying to sound sassy and miserable as fuck. She occupies the same territory as Pinkie Pie in that she really shines when she's acting as the snarker to other characters. Her constant shapeshifting and the way she constantly slips into hip-hop speak lend very well to a supporting character that's designed to keep the tone from getting too grim. That's not an insult, she's just not that complex of a character if you take her implementation alone. But a simple character like Amethyst is one that Steven Universe desperately needs. With its tendency to beg and grovel the viewer to regard them as a meaningful work of art, fun characters like Amethyst are needed to keep the overall tone from disappearing up its own ass.
I never thought I could stretch so far.
But sadly, much like Pinkie Pie, she's always floundered whenever it's time for her to be in the spotlight of an episode. In general, when an Amethyst episode comes around, we get the same song and dance every time. Amethyst is insecure, and she simultaneously hates that people have expectations of her and rushes to try and meet those expectations at the same time. Amethyst episodes are fun. They're not great, but I'll gladly take an Amethyst episode over fucking Lars, or anyone in Beach City for that matter. One of the reasons Amethyst has never been particularly compelling is because she's fundamentally designed around self-worth issues. She's an overcooked gem, and as a result is a lot smaller and weaker than large quartz gems are expected to be, but she's also extremely insecure and sensitive to criticism and seems to be constantly worrying about how the other crystal gems see her. Despite her flippant attitude, she reacts to being told she's screwed up with an almost violent hostility. Being considered inadequate is her greatest fear and the drive for her to chase down Jasper. Of course, for a long time, the problem with Amethyst's self-worth issues was that it had no catalyst. People don't have self-worth issues just because. There's often something in their life that causes it to fester and grow. One could say that it was because she was overcooked, but for a very long time, Amethyst had no conception of what her own gem was supposed to look like. It wasn't until Peridot pointed out exactly where she was falling short that this became clear information. So nobody really knew where Amethyst was getting her massive inferiority complex from. At least, until she told us.
Rose said, I'm perfect the way I am.
Oops.
Much like every other psychological problem the crystal gems have, it all comes back to Rose. Rose clearly told Amethyst right from day one that there was absolutely nothing wrong with her, even when there clearly was. While intended to be a large bruiser, Amethyst is a lot smaller and more compact than other gems of her kind. Now this actually gives her a lot of advantages over other gems like her in a fight. She's a lot faster, her small stature means she can get underneath larger opponents, and while Jasper uses that rolling trick as a way to charge an enemy, Amethyst uses it as something more akin to an actual dash. But Rose didn't teach her to think this way. By telling Amethyst there was nothing wrong with her, Amethyst approaches a fight as if that were actually true. So she charges, tries to use brute force, and takes opponents head on where she's at a severe disadvantage. She's trying to fight like a bruiser when she's not a bruiser. And she loses. She loses a lot. And she keeps battling with the fact that she's not built for what she's supposed to be built for. And that runs contradictory to Rose's uplifting but useless platitudes. Had Rose actually been honest with her and trained her to approach a fight differently, she wouldn't be struggling so much and constantly getting her ass kicked. And she wouldn't be such a wreck. I'm phrasing this all as if these are flaws with the story, but actually I think it's really brilliant. If you pay even the slightest degree of attention to the Gem War story, you'll find Rose has something of a rather fucked up approach to nearly everything she does. She thinks it's abhorrent to shatter her enemies, and look how well that worked out for the crystal gems as a whole. Most of them were either shattered or corrupted by Homeworld. Steven struggles to live up to her legacy, but that legacy is mostly coming from Garnet and Pearl, who are nothing if not biased. It doesn't take much for a more impartial person like Bismuth to remark that Steven has already surpassed Rose's legacy, because as it turns out, Rose's legacy amounts to little more than a broken army and a failed rebellion. The crystal gems were unaware that the Earth was a ticking time bomb, and the only reason the diamonds haven't returned is because it's more tainted with bad memories than Tatooine is to Darth Vader. And for a while, it seemed like they were going to do something with this idea, At least until Storm in the Room happened and Steven got a fresh dose of gaslighting. Rose is the Steven Universe version of those charming folk who like to get hand-wringingly sanctimonious when someone punches a Nazi. And when the only role model you have is a bad one, you end up with more issues than carrots. Steven Universe usually handles its heavier themes with all the grace and care of a monkey slinging its shit, but here they managed to add a world of nuance and detail to their least interesting character, and they did it with a single line of dialogue. By telling Amethyst she's perfect and that nothing is wrong with her, Rose imparts the idea that Amethyst shouldn't have an issue doing anything that an Amethyst is supposed to do. But, and here's the hard part, something is wrong with her. She didn't form correct, so she's not built for the role a quartz is typically expected to perform. And because she's got it in her head that she's just fine, she's never learned to approach problems in a different, more pragmatic way that takes advantage of the unique strengths her short and stocky build gives her. And so you have a recipe for a massive inferiority complex. And what makes it genius is it gives you a full picture for why Amethyst is the way she is. Previously, Amethyst's self-worth issues were unidentified, or at the very least nebulous and up in the air. It went mostly unexplored, and only just enough information was given that the only question that ever truly existed was how it all kicked off. And then they answered it. And that's great. It's good. Bravo. Fucking golf clap. Amethyst's issues come from a relatively believable place. Unlike, I don't know, Steven. While Amethyst's self-loathing is backed up by the fact that she keeps getting her ass kicked from approaching problems badly, Steven has no fucking reason whatsoever to be as self-hating as he is because he's basically pink Jesus. He freed Lapis, befriended Peridot after months of chasing her down, bubbled the cluster, managed to get Lapis and Peridot to get along, got his estranged uncle to stop being a Trump-loving dick, kicked Jasper's ass twice, discovered a way to fuse with another human when it was previously believed to be impossible, overcame Bismuth, actually tried to extend a hand to Jasper, stupidly, and is shown to be more pragmatic and thoughtful than his idiot mother ever was. And yet he still has the sheer gall to act like he's worthless. I haven't seen a character this destined to be great at everything be this insufferable since Thrall.
I guess 0 + 0 = 0.
Shut up, Steven, you're fucking incredible. How many more miracles do you have to pull off before you pull your head out of your ass? Is Tangled Ever After out yet?